Okay, so one of the questions here from Jeremy is about pricing differently for different customer segments. Okay, so I'll tell you a story that happened to me some 10 to 12 years ago that underlines the importance of value-based customer segmentation. And value-based customer segmentation is absolutely what you need to create products and services and price them right. I was working as a young market research manager at a national building products company. I'm not going to name names here. The company made windows and doors, a well-known brand. The paradigm in the company was that there are customers who want beautiful windows, and then there's those that don't care much for beautiful, just a well-functioning window. And one day our company hired a very prestigious consulting firm who, after a couple of weeks, they came back and said, there's two types of customers with two distinct needs. One they called showcasers, who love beautiful windows, and then one they called shelter seekers, who don't care for beautiful windows. And of course, the company was very happy to hear that the findings aligned well with their paradigm. And based on this insights, the corporation set up their forward strategies, marketing communications, everything. Here's how you sell to a showcaser, and here's how you sell to a shelter seeker. But something didn't feel right about these two groups. Feedback from the sales force didn't fit well with this paradigm. We kept hearing that people didn't seem to care how beautiful the window was, and it was very difficult to sell to a showcaser. And in Los Angeles, actually, I remember, for example, no one actually cared about how beautiful these windows were. One day, my boss asked me, "Hey, would you mind going to find out the methodology behind the consulting firm and how they came up with the showcasers and shelter seekers? How did they come up with these two segments?" So I remember vividly. I mean, literally, I went to their website. I dialed up the number and I tried to find this team that work with us. And finally, I got in touch with the guy that led the research. And what I found out, he explained to me that they had contacted 8 to 10 of their acquaintances and talked to them, and some of them liked the way the windows looked, and some didn't. So they came up with showcasers and shelter seekers. And now we were a B2B company, and to realize that all of our corporate strategy hinged on these guys talking to 10 of their acquaintances was a bit troubling, actually. So a couple of years passed, and I finally was able to get my hands on some industry survey data, and I thought, let me use this data to segment the market based on their needs. It had been many years that I did this, and today it's fairly common to use some of the advanced statistics I was doing, but 10 years ago, I felt like a pioneer with all the factor analysis and the fancy statistics. And I remember manually, this is actually what I did. I remember manually. I'll give you a little bit of a detailed background information here about the research. I was rotating, factor analysis. Some of the I was rotating a scatter plot actually based on a factor analysis and multidimensional scaling, and I was doing it. It's basically like a cloud that you're moving in every direction. And it's almost like a sci-fi movie. Imagine all these hundreds of dots in a scatter plot, and I'm rotating them in every direction. It's as I kept rotating this cloud of dots. All of a sudden, from one angle, I see this flat line of dots, and I think, wow, that's a spectrum. That's a spectrum. These dots line up along this spectrum. The dots which our survey respondents line up on this spectrum, and you can see very clearly that some people were very much into one thing or thought something was important for them on one end of the spectrum, and some people were very much something else on the other end of the spectrum. And then there were some people in the middle, sort of in the middle of the spectrum. So what is this attribute that allows people to segment respondents so clearly? What is this dimension? What is this thing that some people value a lot and others don't value? If I could find where this vector points, then I can find this benefit that some customers value a great deal. Then we can say there's a group of customers that are motivated in this market by this one need. And so I spent the next couple of days analyzing the data, and what I found was that the attribute that this large group of people in the market for Windows valued the most was strength. And strength in terms of making their homes stronger, more secure, and fortified. They wanted Windows that helped them leave the outside world outside and create a secure world inside. So I call these people fortifiers. Fortify the home, you know. The fortifier group was significantly larger and much more motivated than the showcaser group. Homeowners don't replace their windows because they want to beautify their homes. You know, for that, there's hardwood floors and furniture and kitchen remodeling. People replace their windows because they want to fortify their homes from the outside elements, you know, wind, noise, rain, etc. And these people value the benefit of fortification the most. The company didn't want to believe it. It's such a big shift in their paradigm, and you know, we make the most beautiful windows. The more beautiful it is, the more expensive it should be. Well, that's an example of a misaligned value metric. Okay, and that's why I'm bringing up this example here for your question. So the point I wanted to make with this example is a lot of companies don't know what benefit their customers value the most, and they have misaligned value metric, misaligned product offerings, and targeted at the wrong customers, and certainly misaligned pricing after that, of course, which is certainly a problem. And so the guiding force behind your product and pricing strategy should be value. And one group values, you know, one benefit very differently than another group of customers. And this is the key, and this is the most important thing. In order to price a product, or actually even create a product, you need to find the various needs in the market and what needs this market has. And you need to find groups of potential customers who value things similarly within a group, but differently between groups. It's called value-based segmentation. And once you find these groups, you can create products or services specifically for these groups, priced appropriately to their to the value, their value to those benefits. So that's probably the long answer to your quick question.